that I don't think anything this guy does is for fun, really. Are almost touching, and his toes are pointed way out to the side. These two girls are both at the top level of their weight class, and they're warming up literally like right behind each other. Hey guys, Justin Santos from Academy Alliance. We're here once again to do a breakdown of Olympic weightlifting, the sport, some of our favorite athletes, and just some of the going-ons in the world of Olympic weightlifting currently, and some stuff that we think you should see. The first video we're starting with here is once again Toshiki Yamamoto from Japan. He's in this video squatting again, but this time doing a feat of more muscular endurance rather than a 1 rep max. He's taking 220 kilos for a 20 rep max squat.
Why did he choose to do the 20 rep max squat?
Honestly, 20 reps seems excessive. I don't know why they're choosing 20. I think maybe it's just to test where his baseline strength is. He just finished testing a 1 rep, which was in one of our previous videos. It was, what was it, 327?
321.
321. And I think just after testing the 1 rep, there's no point in testing the 1 rep again at any time soon. So they're just going to take a little bit of time, reestablish baseline strength from an endurance standpoint, and then build back up to some sort of peak. So it just makes sense to go back to volume work after doing a 1 rep max realization.
So is this part of his training, or is this doing it for fun?
To be honest, it's most likely part of his training, because Toshiki is currently at what I would call the peak of his athletic career. He's at the top in regards to the weight classes he competes in for Olympic weightlifting. He's pushing the boundaries in regards to powerlifting, back squat specifically, and he's trying to gain weight and move up a weight class. He's doing so much relative to the competitive scene that I don't think anything this guy does is for fun, really. Just because for fun would be a waste of his talent and time. He's at that perfect age and perfect strength peak where it's I don't think this guy does anything for fun. It's all got a reason. And I think he's just at a level now where he's lifting so heavy that you might as well document it and create vlogs out of it, because weightlifting nerds will want to see it. And he's one of the best in the world, so why not document it all? Which just makes sense as to why he just did the 321, and now the next video we see of him is him going for a 20 rep max. It's just the peak of the 1 rep max is realized, it's done, they're not going to try it again. So now they wave back down, start with the volume accumulation phase. Whether the 20 rep max is something they do with all of their athletes, or if he's literally just going to 20 to see how far he can take it, I think that's irrelevant. The takeaway is that he's restarting the volume phase, because 20 is just clearly the start of a volume cycle. So again, just like his 321, we're within 3 sets, he's at most people's max.
It's like you blink and he's already at 400 pounds in the bar.
Yeah, it's hilarious actually. And I haven't been counting, but I'm curious if he's doing 20s the whole way up, or if he's just doing, that's 1, 2. Yeah, okay. So he's doing very conservative sets as he warms up, looking really sad about it. That may have been the rep scheme, 8, 6, 4, 2, 20. That would suck. So if that was the rep scheme, this would be for 2. No, for 1. Wonder what those numbers are.
I think that's how he's going to break down his 20 reps.
Oh, 8 in a row without stopping. Breathe, breathe. 6 in a row. Yeah, that's exactly what that is.
So why isn't he actually doing 20 reps per set?
Honestly, it's probably just for energy conservation. Going for 20 reps the whole way up might just cause the lactic acid to build up in the quads prematurely, and then have them moving really sticky and almost fighting the range by the time he gets to the weight he wants to do. It didn't take him very many sets, but it took him about 5, 6 weight jumps to get to here. If he did 20 at each, that's 100 squats by the time he gets to the working weight. Too much lactic acid, it's going to slow him down.
So is this the weight that he's...
Yeah, this is the 220. Yeah, and you were right, the numbers on the wall are how he's going to break it up. So the first 8 done, takes a moment to compose himself, reset the brace. And when you're doing crazy amounts of volume like this, these speed squats are definitely the way to go. You don't want to hit each one with a pause and a brace and a reset of breath. It just takes too long.
So no one's gonna come up to the side and just say no rep?
No, not on these. Yikes. Just a marathon with a bar on your back. It's basically what that feels like. It's so funny because when you're like that, rolling on the floor after a big squat set, if you were to try and lay on your back and like plant your feet, so like bend your knees towards the ceiling, sometimes the quad is still trying to fire to the point where your leg will just straighten out by itself. Like it hurts to try and bend your knees, which is why he's walking like that. Hilarious.
So does working on a 20 rep max help with your 1 rep max?
Yeah, for sure. It's like the theory there is you have to start with some sort of volume accumulation, regardless of if you're a beginner, an intermediate, or an advanced level lifter. Like, and when I say start, I just mean you plan on squatting X number. The road to getting X number has to start somewhere. In most cases, regardless of where you are in the world, the journey is going to start with what they call a volume accumulation phase. So you're starting with weights that are a little bit lighter. You're pushing the amount of reps you can do with that given weight. And that does so many things. It gives you a chance to develop muscle memory if you're a beginner. If you're more intermediate or advanced, it's going to induce forms of muscle growth. So like you're going to basically work on hypertrophy, which is the growing of a muscle group. Bigger muscles tend to move bigger loads. So it's almost universal that any sort of journey to a weight, especially when it's a strength lift like a squat, a deadlift, or a bench press even, you would start with a volume accumulation, build good habits, get tons of volume at lighter loads, groove your patterns, and induce muscle growth to start the journey. And then as you get closer to your goal weight, obviously the reps will come down and you'll get closer to a 1 rep max by the end of the journey. So next we got the poster boy of weightlifting for the last little while. It's changed now. He's no longer the poster boy. But for a little while, everybody knew Dmitry Klokov. Super tall, honestly not super built for weightlifting, but just so good at the sport. Was dominant for many years. Awesome physique, like he's just the lifter that everybody knows about. Yeah, exactly. Klokov plates brought to you by your boy Dimitry. He was spent most of his career, I believe, as a 94 kilo lifter, has represented Russia for as long as I've known him. I'm pretty sure that's his entire career. Obviously, he didn't start as a 94. Klokov was one of those lifters who started as a child and lifted through all of his adolescent years to eventually being the 94 that he spent most of his career at. And I think he ended up at 105, like closer to the end. But he's now known for going around the world, running weightlifting seminars, just bringing the basic weightlifting knowledge to CrossFitters to, further the sport of weightlifting and just give them the type of coaching that may be unavailable to them from the regular CrossFit coach who hasn't spent 30 years lifting. Has the classic Russian style of super knees back. And because he's so tall and with those long femurs, the knee back thing that he does makes his chest almost parallel to the floor, which again, just depending on what school of lifting you learned from and who your coach was, that type of position might be looked at as suboptimal. But in the Russian text and a lot of the Russian lifters, if you watch them over the years, all of them shoot the knees back really hard and get the chest to almost face the floor. It's just a stylistic thing of that region of the globe. And lifting like that tends to require a really strong low back, just because that angle there that he was just holding a moment ago with the pause, if you don't have super strong erectors and super strong low back, there's no way you'll be able to hold that type of position without your hips just continuing to rise. And he's known for at some of his seminars, when the athletes who are at the seminar go on lunch break, he's always doing crazy stuff like pause snatches like this with 400-pound plus, or crazy thruster weights, doing strict presses with 180 kilos. He's always been super strong and will not hesitate at a chance to show his feats of strength, even though he doesn't compete anymore. Another thing that's super individual to Klokov is the fact that his feet, like his heels, are almost touching and his toes are pointed way out to the side, most likely to accommodate the long length that he has. He's also known for, like, if you were to look at his feet from a bird's eye view, like straight down from where his head would be, they're offset. I can't remember which foot is where, but he has one foot that's slightly forward compared to the other because of the way his femur sits in the socket. And again, just something that's weird and just nerdy to know about him if you liked him as a lifter, but not something that you should ever be trying to emulate. If you feel like you have to set up with your feet off balance, you should probably do the mobility work and range of motion work in your hip to fix that. Not just keep lifting that way.
What are those straps that he's using on the bar?
Yeah, so those are weightlifting straps essentially. Powerlifters use them sometimes too. Olympic weightlifters use them a lot. Basically, it allows you to train higher volumes. So like when you're training 6 or 7 times a week, like let's say a peak athlete, training for the Olympics, some of those training days are 2 times per day. The amount of wear and tear that's going to happen on your hand, especially if you're forced to hook grip all the time, like the thumbs are just going to get torn up, and it's literally just for the longevity of your hands. You're going to strap up just so you can hit the volumes that are required in training without destroying your hands. Such an intense setup position. He always looks like demonic in the face, like he's about to rip the head off of something. Crazy long pause. Just a Russian bear. Super strong. And again, he doesn't compete anymore. Like, there's no reason for him to stay this strong. I think he's just one of those athletes. He's so in love with the sport. He likes to stay fit, and this is his favorite way to do it. He's one of those guys who's going to lift super heavy basically until he's dead. He knows no other way. Awesome. In this next one, we got Kuo from Thailand, and we got Deng Wei from China, and I believe this is World Championship for 2019. The 2 lifters that we mentioned a second ago are both women in the 59 kilo class, I believe. And this is them warming up the snatches in the training hall, so behind the scenes, behind the judges, just kind of warming up. She just did a bunch of presses behind the neck, some overhead squats, some pulls, just checking all the little points of the lift, like the key points, making sure they're all fluent and feels good for the day. Stretching out her ankles now. Just allowing the body and the system to wake up and connect all the moving pieces. And again, Kuo, the woman who was just lifting, is one of my favorite lifters. Her technique is sharp, like so spot on. Like when you look at the textbook literature from like the Soviet era of like bar path and the angles at the knee versus the torso and all of those diagrams related to lifting, she mimics so many of those perfectly. She's the textbook of weightlifting. And you'll notice that she doesn't drop the bar on the floor like an asshole. And again, lifting, depending on where you learn to lift and who your coaches are, I find the different styles so cool. Because like Kuo here is doing muscle snatches, but she's staying on her toes for the entirety of the turnover. I've never thought of doing that in a muscle snatch. I probably won't. It's not something that I would want to train in myself. I'd probably stay on my toes for too long if I started warming up that way. But something that she does, probably just to warm up her ankles and make sure that she's getting good extension in the lower leg, which is an important part of the lift. But it's just such a weird thing to do while having something overhead. It's cool. Something that I would never coach, but would definitely not say is wrong because it works for her. That's Deng Wei, which is China's 59 kilo girl. She's also, I'm pretty sure she's the current world record holder for snatch for sure. I don't know if it's clean and jerk in total as well, but snatch for sure. I'm pretty sure she sets a world record at this meet. She doesn't even have weights on yet. Every other girl in the place has their first couple weights loaded. She's still just kind of warming up her joints, shoulder blades, wrists. And that's most likely because she's going to be lifting last. I mentioned this in a previous video, but again, the competition barbell only goes up. So if you lift a pretty significant amount of weight, you're most likely going to be lifting in the later stages of the event. So a lot of these girls are going to snatch way before Deng Wei has to. Therefore, she's going to be one of the last girls to warm up. And again, the warm-up area in a weightlifting competition, I love videos that have more than just a competition platform and include some sort of the training and warm-up area, because it's so cool to see this dynamic, you know, like these two girls are both at the top level of their weight class and they're warming up literally like right behind each other. And without being there, it's hard to appreciate, but the amount of tension and the dynamic in the room at a moment like this is so cool and hard to explain unless you've been there and felt it. Someone you know you have to beat, or you know is at a caliber that could compete with you, and you're warming up right in front of each other, but trying not to look at each other because it's competition day. You don't want to concern yourself with what they're doing. You want to stay in your zone, but at the same time, it's hard to not watch because that's your competitor. Yeah, and then that line of text is just explaining that Kuo, the girl on the right in the black, is actually just at this tournament to practice being at a tournament. So she's not here to throw up a huge amount of weight. There's no real cemented goal for how much they're trying to lift. They're there to just have a good time, stay loose, and keep her mind in a competitive setting and keep that part of her mind strong, because competing is a whole other game. But they're not there to necessarily compete. They're there to just practice competing. Again, a couple of very simple cues, one-liners, and then a little bit of reassurance, patting her on the back, reminding her that it looks good. And this is something that, like, because the people who are watching this are probably Academy Alliance members or maybe Academy Alliance coaches, but from a coaching standpoint, sometimes when you get a higher level lifter who you know understands weightlifting, and therefore you'll catch beginner coaches being hesitant to coach lifters who are at a certain level because they feel like this person's such a good lifter already. What can I really offer or say? A lot of the time, it's just reminding them of the key basics, like the tempo of the movement, what it normally looks like for that person to do it. So if they look off compared to how they normally look, maybe just a reminder, hey, you look a little bit slow under the bar today. Try to keep it smooth under the bar. Simple cues like that, on top of reassurance. That one looked beautiful. Good job. Keep them like that. Things like that to like just inspire a little bit of swagger in your lifter. Let them know that you're there and watching. Sometimes if you have a high level lifter, that's all you really got to do. That person already knows how to lift. Just remind them what they normally look like and keep them happy, keep them vibing. That's part of coaching. And again, like as the weights get heavier, like it's not heavy for her yet, but regardless, it still looks like it's an empty bar. It's just so sharp and so clean. I love the way she approaches the lifts. And then Deng Wei on the other side, like right behind her, same thing from her coach. Very simple. Keep tight hips and up. Again, to some of the people watching, they may digest that cue as like, what does that even mean? But you have to remember that she most likely has worked with this coach outside of the setting we're watching, and they've built on cues on cues on cues on cues. So like when he says that, she's relating that to hundreds of training sessions where they've talked about similar things. So to her, that's exactly what she needs to hear. It's digestible. It doesn't need to be digestible to us. As long as the athlete and the coach understand what's being said, it's really the only thing that matters. So now, first lift in front of judges, first lift of 3. Literally perfect. Second lift at 103, so 3 kilos heavier, about 6 pounds. And again, her coach mentioned at the beginning that they were there just to keep it fresh, what it feels like to compete, but not necessarily there trying to compete to win. And you can see that in her attempts. Like, they're smooth as butter. It looks like there's almost no struggle. She's probably good for more, but they're not there to try and win. They're there just to put points on the board. Yeah. Definitely there to just have a good time. So now Deng Wei, the girl who I believe wins this competition, and I think she sets a world record snatch on her 3rd attempt here. Her overhead position is so locked out. Like her elbows almost look like they're hyperextending and the wrist is at like such a crazy angle. Her lockout's really strong, but it looks kind of scary. One of those things that she's trained since so young that it just probably doesn't hurt her at all, but it looks like it hurts. So now this is 117 kilos. And again, as a 59 kilo lifter, that's quite heavy now. World record. Awesome. And just in one of the earlier episodes of this little weightlifting series, we watched Toma Loredarna doing that sneaky 116 snatch in the training hall, which would have been an unofficial world record at 116. She's in this same weight class. So now this would have been the official world record of 117. So that video we were watching earlier must have been before 2019, maybe in 2019, just earlier in the year, or even 2018 Worlds. And it's so funny at such a high level that the world records, like it takes a year for the world record to be broken by 1 kilo, and it's just a testament to how high level these athletes are. Like it takes a year of practice to raise the bar by 2.2 pounds. All right, so that wraps up today's weightlifting breakdown. I hope you guys enjoyed some of the videos that we chose and some of the athletes we chose to look for. If you have any videos of your own that you would like us to break down your technique or give a little bit of video analysis or feedback, be sure to send us a link to a video of yourself and we could do that for you as well. If you like the video, make sure you like it, subscribe to the channel. If you have any other friends who enjoy weightlifting content who may not know of us, shoot them the share and let us know anything else you might want to see in the future. Thanks.